Cold case shadows and never left the town. Mother still praying her child is found. Wolves in the woods with a man's broken stare. Hearts pounding in the dark. No one else was there. From the bayou swamps to the Rockies wild. We hunt the hidden, the cursed, the unfiled.
Hey, what is going on, everybody? How you guys doing tonight? Tonight, you guys, I want to welcome you to the very first. Okay, hold on.
Okay. Well, hey,
Do you
while he's
hear
doing
that?
that, no, I don't hear anything.
Yeah, I hear something. I have to take care of that.
Okay. Well, we're excited that you guys are here for the very first episode. I'm excited. Are you excited? I guess Daniel's having technical difficulties, but really excited that you guys are here. This is a brand new channel, our first episode, Mysteries and Cryptids, and we're going to be talking about something pretty strange tonight. Daniel, why don't you tell everybody what we're going to be talking about tonight?
Okay, you guys, I'm back. See, I had something going on because I can't contribute into the chat for whatever reason.
Gotcha.
And I went over to YouTube, went live, and yeah, it is what it is. I'm going to try something again, but you guys, while I'll show you guys what I'm going to do in a second. But anyway, thank you so much for joining us, you guys. This is the first episode of Mysteries and Cryptids. Now, for a while, Josh and I have been telling you guys, hey, we got a podcast coming. We've got this website up, which is www.mysteriesandcryptids.com. And yeah, I know it's gone. I know it's gone. I got to get it back up. I was having a feedback issue, but I'll get it right back up there. Well, anyway, so this is the first episode, and what we're going to be talking about, you guys, tonight is not going to be a cryptid-related case. Now, with Mysteries and Cryptids, we're bringing a bunch of different stuff to this. We're bringing true crime. We're bringing like World War II mysteries. We're bringing history, mysteries, missing persons, cryptids. We're bringing it all, you guys. We're bringing it all to you. And tonight, you guys, we have one of the most chilling, most horrific true crime cases, if not the most horrific true crime case in the state of Arkansas. You guys, tonight we're going to be talking about Ronald Gene Simmons and the heinous act that he committed back in what, 1987, 88?
It was 87 or 88, I believe. Yeah.
So you guys, again, welcome to tonight's episode. So the story of Ronald Gene Simmons. He's a decorated Vietnam veteran who became the worst.
I've got a little intro to play before you get into that. Remember the little intro we got?
Yep. Go ahead.
About that. Check this out, guys. This is real footage from the case when it broke. Some news footage that we put together. So you got to have a perspective of who this guy is. And just so you know, also too, this is really close to home for me. I actually worked for the sheriff. You're going to see him in the video. I worked for him. It was my first job as a law enforcement officer. And I worked in corrections for him for a long while. Very familiar with this area. It's close to home, not far from where I'm at. So this really shook the community for me as a kid. Like, we grew up with this story. We grew up hearing this. We knew, some of the stuff. So it's very, very personal. So check this out. They'll give you a better picture about what we're talking about tonight.
In Arkansas, investigators continue to look into one of the nation's worst cases of mass murder.
What's going on in somebody's mind when they're strangling their own children and grandchildren?
He was a decorated veteran, a quiet neighbor, and the deadliest mass murderer in Arkansas history. Tonight, we open the file on Ronald Gene Simmons.
There we go.
Yeah.
Bro, yeah, this is crazy. So back to what I was saying was about Ronald Gene Simmons, a Vietnam decorated veteran who became the worst mass murderer in Arkansas history. and the man responsible for the deadliest familicide in U.S. history. This one happened in Pope County, and it hits close to home because Josh started his law enforcement career under Sheriff Jay Winters, one of the investigators who worked this case. Now, when this case came up around the older deputies, you can tell that it never left them. Tonight, we're going to walk through the entire timeline from who Simmons was to the murders and then the aftermaths to what investigators found when they entered the property on Mockingbird Hill. So Ronald Gene Simmons, like I said earlier, was a decorated Vietnam veteran. He spent 22 years in the United States military. In November 79, he retired at the age of 39 as a master sergeant. Now, he was started in the Navy and then worked his way, switched over to the Air Force. After a retirement, he moved his family from New Mexico, but things started to go downhill pretty quick. Authorities began investigating him for the R word, and I need another word for that because I don't think we can say that here either.
No, you can't.
So the R word, and then relations with a family member.
There you go.
Extremely serious accusations involving his own daughter. Rather than face these charges, Simmons, like the coward that he was, fled the state. He moved his entire family to Dover, Arkansas, to a 13-acre property in Pope County. 2 mobile homes, bolted together, surrounded by a high makeshift fence. There was no plumbing, no heating, no air conditioning, no telephone service. This was complete isolation. Now, it wasn't that he probably couldn't afford it. This was all done on purpose. He worked a few jobs in Russellville, included the Sinclair Mini Mart, starting in 1986. But then, just before Christmas of 1987, everything broke.
Guys, this, like he said, this case is extremely personal to me. And I don't, personal is maybe the wrong word, but very close to home. The sheriff that you guys saw in that video, Jay Winters, was a really good man. There's another guy named Ray Caldwell that I grew up under, learned a lot of investigation tips from. And so we talked about this case a lot. My sergeant actually was there when they brought him into the jail. Spent a lot of time with Ronald, what a monster he was. But it is to this date the deadliest case in Arkansas. But so Simmons quit his job at the Mini Mart on December the 18th. Now, guys, I'll tell you right now, like, this is some pretty gruesome details, and we're not in any way trying to be disrespectful to victims in any type of crime, but I think it's important that people know that this stuff goes on. And we both of our careers, so in case you don't know, I spent 17 years in law enforcement. Daniel also was in law enforcement. He spent a lot of time in the Air Force, and that's what he did in his career. So we have a lot of background with this stuff. So I've studied this case quite a bit. But 4 days later, on December the 22nd, he began the murders. And here's exactly what happened. Break this down for you guys. He beat his wife, and I'm going to mess her name up, Brashabe Rebecca.
He's having some technical difficulties.
He then strangled his 3-year-old granddaughter, yeah. Are we back?
Yeah.
I think we're back. He strangled his 3-year-old granddaughter, Barbara. Then he dumped all 3 of the bodies into a shallow pit the family had dug earlier, that he had dug earlier for an outhouse. I've actually seen the evidence files of this case. I've looked through them in my career as part of our training. So I've seen these photos. Let me tell you, it was extremely, extremely gruesome. And it's images you'll never get out of your head. But I've actually been able to see all this stuff in person through evidence. But
Yeah, his side is freezing up. It's his computer. So I'll go ahead, you guys. I'll when he gets back in here, I'll take over and then give it back to him. So again, 4 days later, December 22nd is when he started um unaliving people. Here's what happened. He physically abused his wife, um, Bersabe, uh, Rebecca Simmons, with a heavy object, and then unalived her. He did the same to his adult son, Ronald Gene Simmons Jr., who happened to be visiting at the time. Um, he did the same thing to his 3-year-old granddaughter, Barbara. He then placed all three of them in a shallow pit that um, the family had dug earlier for an outhouse. Now, late that afternoon, a school bus dropped off the younger Simmons children. It was the last day before Christmas break. Um, Becky, age 8, Marianne, age 11, Eddie, age 11, Loretta, age 17. And earlier that week, Becky had written a school essay. And it says, if you have parents to watch over you so you can be safe. Simmons separated the children one by one and then unalived them, um, each of them in what they say is a rain barrel. Their bodies were then placed in the outhouse pit. He had spent the night alone inside the home, waiting for the next round of family to arrive for Christmas.
That's pretty messed up. That is really, really messed up. I don't know how much you were able to hear before I got my internet dropped. How much did you hear, Daniel? Did I tell you guys about the case files I've seen?
Yeah, you said you've seen the case
Okay.
files, and you kind of explained the outhouse, but I picked up right from there,
Good.
kind of reread all that type of stuff, and now it's,
Okay.
I guess it's where you're gonna
Back
want to
up
pick
and
up.
running. Yeah, my
is
internet
Christmas
is really
visitors.
messed up. Yeah. So, here's the thing. Like, this is obviously a very sick individual. Like, this is not normal human behavior to take out your whole family like that. And you think the story's over. I am telling you, this story is one of the strangest that I've personally ever heard. I'm grateful that I was not there working this case. It was way earlier. I was young. I was not in law enforcement, and I just am thankful I never had to work a case like this one. But the Simmons family had invited relatives to visit for Christmas. On December the 26th, the first group arrived. William H. Simmons II, 23, his wife, Renita Mae Simmons, 21, their baby boy, William H. Simmons III, 20 months old. Simmons shot both adults in the dining room and covered their bodies with coats and blankets. Then he unalived the baby. I can't hardly read that. That's so hard. He unalived the baby and placed him in the trunk of the car on the property. Next, Sheila and Dennis McNulty, ages 24 and 33, arrived with their 2 children. Sylvia, age 7, Michael, 21 month. Simmons unalived both of the parents. He placed their bodies in the dining room table and covered them with tablecloth. Then he unalived, I can't even say the words, two children, placing Michael's body in the trunk of another car. After unaliving the second group of family members, Simmons drove to town to pick up Christmas gifts he had ordered from Sears. He then went to a private club, had drinks, returned home, where he spent the rest of the evening watching TV, drinking beer, while the bodies were still in the house. You tell me what kind of person it takes to do something like that. Just absolutely wild. How do you wrap your head around that, Daniel? I don't even know how you're supposed to wrap your head around that.
Well, again, it's hard for me to even think about, things like this, being a dad and a grandfather, a husband. But again, working in the Department of Corrections as I did for a couple of years in Tennessee, I've seen and heard all walks of life. So, they're broken people, and there's really only one way
Very broken.
to handle a person like
Yep.
that. So,
Yep.
yeah,
That's it.
JP.
And, I tell people all the time. What'd he say? I missed it.
JP goes, I can't believe that happened in my own state. Yeah, it did, man.
It did.
But
I
mean, it happens.
It was
I
one.
mean, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, buddy.
I was saying, I'm originally from Washington State, the Pacific Northwest. Ted Bundy, the Green River Killer.
Yep.
There's a lot of them that come from that area.
A lot.
And for time in my life when I was a teenager, people were afraid in certain areas of where I lived. Were afraid to go out after dark.
Yep. Well, I mean, I'll tell people all the time, like, if you knew what was driving down the road next to you every single day, you'd never leave your house. Like, if you knew the kind of things that were floating around. I mean, this guy worked a normal job. He was a neighbor. People have no idea. They just don't know. I mean, they don't know. Let's see. Roger says, I worked at a local sheriff's department, early 90s, and most horrible stuff was done by family members. Yeah, it really, a lot of times, if there's a murder, the first place that we're going to look is the husband or the wife and the family member, because it happens all the time, and people snap. It just does, and that's very unfortunate. And this story is it's a rough one. It's a really, really hard story to talk about. But I mean, it's crazy to me the amount of people that are from Arkansas that have never heard this story. Like, have you shared it with you? Did you ever hear it at all?
No, I'd never heard it.
No. It blows my mind, because I mean, this is, we grew up with this story. I mean, this is something we talked about a lot. And then when I got into law enforcement, one of the guys who trained me was like the lead detective on the case. And so, we got to see all the case file. We got to see all these different stuff. Like, it's just blows my mind. The kind of stuff that's out there. It just really, really blows my mind. So, let's see. So, you want to read the next part? And guys, I would say if you thought the story was over, it's not. It's not over at all. This part is just wild to me.
Yeah, you can go ahead and read it.
No, you go for it, man. Give my voice a break. I'm still fighting off this cold.
All right. So, okay, you already read that part.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to. Okay, so on December 28th, on Monday the 28th, Simmons drove back to Russellville. He had bought a new sidearm at Walmart. He began targeting people he believed had wronged him. So here's a sequence. He went to the law firm and unalived the receptionist. He went to Taylor Oil Company and unalived one person, wounded another. Then he went to Sinclair Mini Mart, his former job, and wounded 2 more employees. Next, he went to Woodline Motor Freight Company, where he wounded his former supervisor. After the final act of violence, he held a woman hostage and told her to call the police. Now, what he said, I mean, you guys, this is where this lets you know that his elevator didn't go all the way to the top. He goes, you can tell him, I've come to do what I had to do. It's all over now. I've gotten everybody I wanted to hurt. I got everybody who wanted to hurt me. He put a sidearm down and calmly waited for the police to arrive. Now, after his arrest, authorities went to his property outside Dover, where they discovered all 14 family members hidden around the property and inside the home. The scene is what Sheriff Winters and deputies that Josh later worked under, they had to walk. This is what they walked into. They said they would never forget it. And when they talked about it, you could tell it was the kind of trauma that never leaves you. Simmons never provided a clear explanation as to why he did what he did. Investigators found clues. They found that his wife was planning to divorce him. And she was quietly saving money. His supervisor at Woodline, he had argued with him about pay. There was a letter in his safe deposit box showing that he was furious with his daughter for revealing that he was the father of her child. During the trial, when this letter was read out loud, Simmons stood up and punched the prosecutor in the face and tried to grab a deputy's sidearm. He was then removed from the court. Now, Simmons was convicted of 14 counts of capital murder. He waived all of his appeals, something which is extremely rare, and he insisted on being unalived himself by the hands of the state. So on June 25th, 1990, that's what happened, by lethal injection. He became one of the few death row prisoners who fought for his execution rather than against it.
So my sergeant, and I can't remember her name. She was there for a really long time. She said she was there the day they brought him in, the day he got arrested, and she was there the day they took him to execute him. They had to come back to the county or whatever, but she said she saw him that week as well. So she saw him at the very beginning and at the very end. Also, too, he was a very model inmate. Never gave him any problems. Never did anything. He just kept quiet, kept to himself. It's kind of a strange thing, but that case is the worst mass murder by a single individual in Arkansas history.
Now, hold on a second. So Tired Kid, I love it when we get these guys in here. Sounds like Stolen Valor, fake story. Google the name
really?
Ronald Gene Simmons. Tired Kid.
Yeah.
Google that name, and it's not a fake story.
Actually,
You
here's some photos just so you guys can see. That's him right there. And the guy standing behind him, that's the Sheriff Jay Winters. He wasn't.
Okay, you're freezing up again. So that's Jay Winters is the one, I believe.
Good man. Very, very good man. So we'll go through some of the evidence just so you guys can see. We're gonna make it. Here's another photo. That's some actual evidence photos from inside his house. It's kind of spooky because he's got the Christmas tree up. I mean, this guy just was living life like nothing was going on. Out of his house. Maybe.
Josh, you're frozen up again. So, here he goes. This is, I guess, his house. And Josh, we can't hear you.
Okay. That's the outside of his house. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. And this is another photo. That's the whole compound there. That's the trailer right in the middle. That's a photo of where they had the pit out back. And this was his daughter. And here's a map so you guys can see. This is Pope County. And here's another snapshot of, if you look close, Dover is right there. It's above the line there towards the bottom. and
Yeah,
it
right
happened
below
in
the
that
O.
area. Yep. So
Yeah, it's a travesty, on things like this, and
it is.
I
It
don't.
is.
I'm never going to claim to even remotely understand, why someone would
Mhm.
do this. Um, I'm looking a lot of stuff that's going on in the chat, like, Ashes. He worked in Dover before. PJ, he said, I can't believe that actually happened. Um, in Arkansas. I mean, it's crazy.
It's nuts. I mean, you don't know. Every city, every state, we always would say every place in the world has a monster. You just don't know it yet. And that's the thing. Like, and once you see the side of life, like I've experienced it, you've experienced it. I've worked
Yep.
murder cases. I mean, once you see the side of humanity, you guys want to know why I say what I say at the end of every episode on Mysteries Unknown, why I say stay prayed up. I mean, it's exactly for reasons like this. Like, listen, we talk about cryptids a lot on both of our channels, and cryptids can absolutely be scary. But I can tell you right now, people are way more scary than a cryptid can be.
I'd rather deal with Dogman or a rake or a skinwalker than another human being.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because I mean, you can, at least if you look at a dog man, you can see the evil on the outside of it by its appearance. Human being, we get so used to seeing, we're human. And so you don't think about that. But you go work in corrections, you go spend any amount of time working in the correction system, you will see the worst of humanity on a daily basis. It completely changed me, how I look at the world. I know it had to change you. And so it's just, but it gives you a different perspective on life. But guys, if this is your first time here, this is a brand new channel. If you're wondering who this awesome guy over here to my left is, that is Dano from the Cryptid Podcast. He has an amazing podcast. I'm Josh from Mysteries Unknown. I've got a podcast all about Bigfoot, Dogman, cryptids, but we came together to create this channel because we wanted to talk about other types of mysteries, true crime stuff. We're still going to talk about cryptids, things like that. So, but
and I'm simulcasting, so this
Okay.
is on my channel as well.
Oh, cool. All right.
So that's why I noticed I've got a couple of my mods in here. Actually, a few of my
Very
mods in
cool.
here, unless
Very
they
cool.
came in a different way. Yeah. I got quite a few mods in here, so it's pretty awesome. And you guys,
That is
you
cool.
think about it this way. You're right, Josh. This is a new podcast. This is for both of us. This is not going to take away from Josh's show, Mysteries Unknown. It's not going to take away from my show. We're probably going to drop a new episode probably once a month. And we're really going to pretty much run the gambit of everything, you guys. We're going to do cryptids. We're going to do true crime. We're going to do unsolved mysteries. I've even thrown some ideas about covering stuff like about the Bermuda Triangle and things like that. I know I got tons of books about World War II. There's a lot of mysteries about World War II. So, if you guys have any ideas on what you'd like to hear, potentially see us cover, drop a comment, or when it posts, or send us an email, mysteriesandcryptids@gmail.com. Guys, this is a hard one for us. Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
Awesome.
This is a hard subject for us to talk about. For me, it's really tough because I've looked at some of these guys in the eye, like face to face, about 4 to 6 inches away from people who have committed crimes like this and worse.
Yep.
And when you have children involved, that's when it really gets a lot harder for me to talk about.
It's tough. I'm the same way, man. It's hard to cope with that kind of stuff. And I know for me, like, I've been out of law enforcement, I think 9 years now. And there's still things that bother me. There's still aspects of that come back to haunt you. I can't tell you the amount of times I've laid in bed and then seen all these cases that you've worked and all these things that just never go away. Like it never goes away. And a lot of the times, when you look at a police officer, somebody that's in law enforcement that is sacrificing their time with their family and putting themselves in these positions, you don't think about the effects that these things have on them. I know firsthand that the majority of people that worked that case got really sick. Jay Winters got really bad sick. He ended up dying from, I think he had cancer. I could be wrong, but this stuff does take a toll on you. So you just have to, stay prayed up. What's the comment say? I can't see it.
It says, this is from Victor. Victor says, this is honestly fire, boys. Everyone loves stories. The younger generation are going to need this. Too many stories go to the grave. And that's 100% true. And then we've got one of the subscribers to my channel, Dario, who's from Italy. He asks, where is this? Where has this happened? And I'm in Italy. I don't know the story. This happened in Dover, Arkansas, in the United States, back in 1987, right around Christmas time.
Yeah, it's kind of a crazy story. It blows my mind the amount of people that don't know that this happened. Like, yes, I know it was a long time ago, but good grief, this was such a talked about thing in our community, and I can remember how much it shook my parents up. Like it really, really took a toll on them. And you get to thinking, and I don't know if anybody else thinks this way. Maybe it's just because, the way what we grew up working in, Daniel, I don't know, but I think about this stuff all the time. I'm like, man, how many people have done this kind of stuff? Not to that degree, because you're going to get caught, but have done things and then just nobody ever knows. Like, I'll tell you another weird thing, man, that happened is before I was in law enforcement, I used to build fences. And in the same town, this story is kind of funny, but it's not. But so there was a guy that we built this fence for in Dover, Arkansas, of all places. And there was this, you'll know where I'm going with this. Across the backyard, there was this mound of dirt. And it had kind of looked like it was fairly new and it was mounded up. And I remember the owner being very specific with us. Don't put the fence over that mound. Make sure it's on the other side of that. He came out of this house to make sure that we knew that, right? Bro, the dude had murdered his wife, buried her in the backyard in Dover, Arkansas. And when it rained, it flooded, and he put her in a 55-gallon tub, and it come up out of the ground, and that's how he got caught. What's weird about people who commit murder, and you can ask anybody who spent time working in a jail or had been to jail, most of the people who are what I would say, inmates who do not give you trouble are murderers. Mm-hmm. 9 times out of 10, if they're in there for murder, they're not going to give you issues. It's the people in there for petty crimes, the people in there for stupid stuff. Those are the ones that generally are going to give you fits. But the dude, I talked to him. I was like, hey, man, I was in your backyard building your fence. He goes, yeah, I know. I lost my temper, and I took a frying pan and I don't know what else we can say on here. I don't want to get flagged or whatever.
Unalived
her with a frying pan because he lost his temper. And then he took her and put her in the backyard. Mm. Dover is a really strange place, guys. Like it's a really strange place. So another thing, and we're kind of getting all over the place, but in Dover, Arkansas, there's something called the Dover Lights. How many of you guys have heard of the Dover Lights? If you've heard of those, probably comment a topic for another day. But if you've heard of those, drop a comment below. Let me know. But yeah, it's just, we want to cover a lot of different topics. And that's why we've created this new channel so we could do that. My channel's not going anywhere. Every Monday, you're going to have a release. Daniel's channel's not going to go anywhere. And we will talk about cryptids on this channel. But some of these stories need to be heard. They need to be talked about. People need to know who your neighbors could be. I mean, it's important to know these things. So,
yeah, you were talking about, inmates and things like that. There's 2 types of people in a prison. that are confined there. You have inmates and you have convicts. Inmates are the guys who cause a ruckus, want to cause trouble, don't understand that, if you got any significant time, they just want to do their time.
Yep.
They have rules that, inmates follow when they're in there. It's not necessarily the state rules, not the institution rules. It's like jailhouse rules. But there was one inmate, and I'm not going to say his name, but he was on maximum security. I was working in a maximum security prison in Tennessee. And almost from day one, it was very, very, this inmate was very charismatic. He had a very, very, he had a lot of charisma, I should say. And I was going around doing count, and he was standing on his door like he's supposed to. Well, standing up. When you say standing on the door, that means they're standing up, looking out the window so you can count them. And he was very polite from the first day that I met him. And then the 2 years that I worked there, he was a model prisoner. He was a convict. He had life. He had 4 life sentences for the one person he unalived in the prison or outside the prison, and the 3 inmates that he unalived inside the prison. And he had this smile. Whenever you saw this smile, you knew something was about to happen, because he was mad about something or whatever. So you kind of gave him that wide berth. But still, he told me one time, he goes, "Oh, officer, you don't have nothing to worry about." He goes, "I'd never harm any of you guys because I know this is just your job. But these other people around here, they all have numbers, and their number is going to be up if they cross my path or something like that." And I was like, "Whoa," because he was very serious when he said it. But again, this makes me think about how this guy was, like you said, he was a model inmate up until the time, that it was his due date. His due date expired.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's true. Like there is two different codes. Like there is like the rules that we established, but then there's the prison rules that they establish. And I mean, they would keep them in check. Like they would definitely enforce their own rules is a good way to put it. Mm-hmm. And it's a different world. And if you've never seen it, it's such a foreign thing to people. But yeah, I can remember when I share this story. I mean, this is a good time to share it since we're talking about this kind of stuff. And on these lives, guys, I mean, we're probably going to go all over the place. We'll generally have a topic, but then we like to talk to people in the community is what's important to me about these lives. And we don't have a posting schedule figured out yet, but this is a great time for you guys to tell us what you like, what you would like to hear. This is the perfect time for that. But I can remember there was a guy who came in and he was constantly coming to the jail. And I'll never forget his name, but his name was James. I'll just say James was his name. And James was like 5'4", but James was every bit of 200 pounds of pure muscle. I mean, just absolute pure muscle. Linebacker. Like the guy was absolutely insane. But he would come in and do stupid stuff, and he was always in jail. But we developed I don't know what word you would use, Daniel. You can't, they're not your friends, the camaraderie, mutual respect. Mm-hmm. I treated him with respect. He treated me with respect. There was an unwritten rule there. So we had a big problem with white supremacy gangs in the jail that I worked in, which was Jay Winter's jail, the guy you guys saw in that photo. And so they would segregate them and put them all in one specific block because nobody else would survive in there. And so James, who we'll call James, was not afraid to go into that block. Matter of fact, he requested to go there because they would leave him alone and then everybody else would leave him alone and he would do his time. He was an inmate. He was a convict. So he would do his time and everybody left him alone. So I went into the block. I think it was G block or D block. I can't remember. And they're not supposed to put stuff up on the walls. Like they can't have things on their walls. And so we would go in and do shakedowns and look for contraband. We do that periodically. So one morning I went through there like 6 a.m. I'll never forget the guy's name. I could see him today. I think he's still incarcerated. Bad stuff. He'd done some really bad stuff, but he had a bunch of stuff up on his wall. And I went in there. I was like, hey, man, you need to take that down. And of course, they mouth off. They're going to push you to see how far they can make you bend. And of course, you can't let them win. So you're like, hey, man, you got to take this down. You have a radio and mace and handcuffs. That's literally all you got. I don't know how it was for you, but that's how it was for us. So he bows up on me and we get into it. And, they put him basically we dried him out. We put him in a solitary cell for a while, and he stayed there for like a week, I think, is something like that. So he threatened me. He's like, man, I'm going to get you when I get out. I'm going to get you when I get out. Well, I'm going on. You get threats all the time. I don't know how often you got threatened, but it happens daily. Like, you're going to get threats all the time. So they moved him back to the block, and I'd forgotten about it. And I walked back there one day to do a head count. And this is a true story. Like, this story, I think about this all the time. I'm back there, and you walk in, and there's one solid door to go into the main room. There's a bunch of different doors and rooms and a day room and a couple of metal picnic tables. I go in there. I get surrounded by like 6 white supremacist guys, massive big dudes, heads shaved, the whole thing. He pulls the door shut, and he goes, today's your day, Smith. I got you. You're going to get it. And I'm like, okay, man, this is it. I'm the only one there. I got a radio. It's going to take them a good 2 minutes to get to me, probably. Maybe quicker. I don't know. Depends on what's going on. So I was getting ready. I was like, man, this is it. I am toast. I'm done. James steps out of his cell, looks at them. Now, he's 5'4". You touch him, I'll kill every one of you. They turned around, walked back in their cells, and left me alone. All because I had mutual respect with that one convict. But they have a code. And their code is, if you respect me, I'll respect you. I don't know if you have any stories like that, but that one always sticks out to me.
So when my little brother and I, we worked at the same institution in Tennessee. It was West Tennessee. And my brother and I, we were known to find a lot of contraband that wasn't supposed to be there. And it was ticking off certain people. I'm not going to name the group of people that was making them mad, but they put a hit out on my brother and I. So we had a hit. And because of my brother and I showing the respect that we did to the Muslims in prison, we made sure they got their challah meals. We made sure that, we wouldn't interrupt them when they were praying, things like that. We showed them the amount of respect. And again, you guys, I'm telling you, with the badge that you wear, you have an insane amount of power, a ton of power. The one thing you do not want to do is abuse that power and think that because you have a badge you can do and say whatever you want, because there are repercussions for all your actions. Well, the word got out and it reached the ears of some of the Muslims that were there, and very shortly after the hit was put out on us, the hit was taken away. Later found out that the Muslims told the group of people that put the hit out on my brother and I that if one thing happened to my brother or I, that every single person in that group would be unalived. Now, I've been stabbed. I've been hit with a battery. I've been hit with a lock. And I'm telling you, you got to be tough.
You do
to work in a prison.
And you got to be just as mentally tough as you do physically tough. Like it is
Yeah.
it is a totally different world. And I can tell you right now, like I spent 4 years in corrections. The rest of my career was on the streets. I had more problems. I don't know if problem is the right word. I got closer to being unalived in corrections that I knew of than I did out on the street.
Yeah. Mhm.
It is you got to think about it. If you take out on the streets, you don't know who the bad guys are by looking at them. Like, you know that they're there, but it's a completely different thing. When you're in a lockdown facility, you got to think about, they have nothing but time to figure you out, to figure out ways to beat you, to figure out to take out your family if they can't get to you. And then not alone catching something. Like it is a very thankless job. It's underpaid. And it is just, I don't know. I can't even put it into words. I can tell you this though. Both of us are very fortunate to be sitting here today to be able to talk about what we're talking about. And it is a strange thing to live out that job and to live out that life. It is not easy. And I think it's a calling. I definitely think it's a calling. And, you know, Roger, I mean, I mean, that sums it up, but you know, I don't think you're alone. I think that you have God by your side, but physically, yeah, sometimes you are alone. I've had feces thrown on me. I've had,
Oh man.
that was a weekly thing. Like, you just kind of have to get used to that. You're going to hear and see just things that the most of the world will never see. And the hardest part of that job, I can tell you right now, and I'll guarantee you agree with me, the hardest part of that job, no matter what they're in there for, you have to treat them all the same.
Yep.
And
100%.
that's the hardest part. Because I wanted to take things into my own hands, which you figure out what these people are in there for.
Yep.
But you can't. You can't
Nope.
do that. And so that's the hardest, for me it was the hardest part of the job. Hardest part.
The one thing, you know, and I'll tell you, so working in, because I work, like I said, I work on Max, and then I transferred over to a reception center. So reception center is where all the guys coming in, guys coming in from county jails or being transferred from one institution to another or whatever, going to court, they always come through the reception center. But this happened when I was working at the maximum security prison. I had been there maybe about 6 months, 7 months, and I had an inmate that was always giving me problems, always. As I go doing my, you know, midday count, this inmate pops his pie flap open and threw a big cup of urine on me. And it really ticked me off because when I first started working there, I'll be telling you right now, they ran me ragged. I was getting ice for these guys, and I was passing this magazine to that guy, and every single day for like the first 2 weeks, my uniform looked like I had a bucket of water dumped on me. I was drenched with sweat. And then an old inmate was like, an old officer was like, listen, man, these guys, you don't run nothing for them. So you better figure out, you know, how you're going to run your unit. So it ticked me off. I went to the locker room, showered, changed my uniform. So I was coming out and found like a 32-ounce cup, an empty cup. And I started relieving myself in it. And I was putting it up in the laundry room up by the dryer. And when evening count came around, I knew this guy was waiting for me. I knew he was. And so I grabbed that cup. And this is kind of a gross story, but a funny story. It depends on how you look at it. And so I'm on the upper tier. I do my count. I come back, start doing my count on the lower tier, and he's on the lower tier. And I'm standing at his door, and he is just giving me the business. You this and you that and you this and mother that. And I'm like, I could hear every word he's saying, but I'm acting like I can't hear him. And he says, "Pop my door, pop my flap."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I go and now I'm kind of standing to the side, and I got this warm cup of urine in my hand. And I open up his pie flap, and he pushes it open, and he sticks his face into it, and I just blast him. Boom! The whole 32 ounces of urine as he was in mid-sentence, all over his face, all over down his mouth, whatever. And then I kicked his pie flap shut. I'm gonna tell you right now, those inmates, they lost it. They were laughing so hard because I got this guy back. But it's a thing like that. Now, if this would happen in like a Gen Pop, it could have been different because like my first week on Gen Pop, oh man, I'm working in the office, the unit office, and I'm writing in my logbook instead of being out on the desk that's out in the pod. I'm in the office. I'm writing out my log, and a piece of paper slides underneath the door. I'm like, well, what is this? So I grabbed the piece of paper, and it says, this is exactly what it says. Pod desk, watch your back. And as I open up the office door, I hear a cell door shut. So they had rigged their door so they could pop it open when they wanted to, and then they shut it. So I very slowly walk out to the pod desk, and I find a shank that's about this long, and it's got my name written on it. That honestly is the most scared I've ever been working at that institution. Like, I mean, I was there like 2 weeks, and I'm like, oh. So I just kind of looked at everybody, and I'm like, okay, I got the message. I said, this ain't good for you guys, though. I didn't like cower down. I let them know that, yeah, go ahead. Let's do it. If y'all want to dance, let's dance. But yeah, it's crazy, man.
It's a crazy world. I'll tell you, that's pretty scary when you see something like that and your name's on it. We had and I have to be careful with some of the stuff, but we had a certain, and this was not in the jail, and we could probably sit back and forth and swap tons of stories like that. Cause that is very scary. And I can imagine how you felt when you found that, and thank goodness somebody cared enough to give you a heads up. I mean, there is an unwritten code in there. There really is. Like, there is a whole other world in there, and respect is huge. Like, it is a huge thing, but yeah, you can't show any fear. The second they see fear, you're done.
You're done. You might as well hang it up.
You're done. If somebody comes up at you, you just have to bow up on them, and you have to do what you got to do. There's nothing else you can do. Because you better pop them in the mouth before they pop you. I mean, it's just, you have to live that way.
You said, you had, what did you carry when you were working out on a unit?
Mace, keys, handcuffs, and a radio. That's it.
I had cuffs, a radio, and keys.
Yep.
And
that's it, right?
The Hammer Brothers, Jack and Sledge.
Hey, they worked. Listen, handcuffs too, though. Those get the slinging. Those are really good weapons too.
So do leg irons.
Oh yeah, man. No, leg iron. Those are great. We had the last town that I was a cop at, where I retired from. We had a pretty scary situation. There was a particular gang that came into town, and you might think, like, why would you, like, a gang want to come to a little town like where I worked at? But they did. There was a certain bar in town, and they would come into town, and they tried to, man, it was bad. Like, DTF would not even cross the bridge. It was so bad. Like, it was really bad. And so our chief was like, hey, listen, Friday, Saturday nights, we need you to do checks at this bar. We want you to go into the bar and we want you to walk through the bar and we want you to let them know that you're there, go in too deep, let them know that you see them and they see you, walk through there, hang out, stay, and leave. That's all I want you to do. So we did that. And we would do that on a regular basis, constantly in there. I'm just going to say it was a motorcycle gang. You guys can fill in the blank. And so one day, one of our officers gets a letter in his mailbox, and it's from this particular gang. And they had threatened to unalive his whole family if we did not back off of the situation. And that's when things got real. Like that was a real thing. Because they were used to, now I will tell you, and Daniel, I don't know if this was your experience, but this was mine. There was an unwritten rule. Go back to the code. Convicts and criminals have a code.
Mm-hmm.
You can mess with me. I put myself in that situation, but you didn't mess with the officer's family. That was kind of an unwritten rule. But when they crossed that line, they had to take that family and put them into protective custody for a pretty long while because it got super serious. That's one of the scariest times in my career because we were a small department, guys. Like I'm talking 10 people total, maybe 11. And it was just this whole weird thing. And what's weird about it, what's strange about it is they didn't do that to our department. They did it to the city over, which was always strange to me. So it was the other city, their department that they had to do that to. And it was just a weird thing. And it's just, we could probably do a whole show. And if that's something you guys want to hear, let us know in the comments because we're still trying to figure this out. Like we're still trying to do whatever, but it's just so many wild things. You do something like that for 17 years and I have a whole plethora of stories, if that's even a word, that we could sit and talk about for a really long time. So,
well, I mean, with my law enforcement career, it was just military, and some people will say, "Oh, you weren't really a cop." Well,
that counts. That counts.
In the instance of going out and out in the civilian world, I wasn't, but military world. So you got to understand, I was a federal law enforcement when you look at it that way. So I just dealt with like dumb people. I mean, I primarily worked the weapons storage area. I went out in the missile field. Worked on the flight line a little bit, but I did get a chance to work law enforcement duties where I drove a cruiser and wrote tickets and pulled people over and had a couple of theft investigations and a couple of assaults and things like that. And it's funny, you deal with.
Did you see Taft's comment?
Cops and cryptids. I did see that. It's funny. Oh, I haven't heard that in a long time. Hillary Piggly Wiggly, love it. Piggly Wiggly, guys, is the original grocery store. Is the first grocery store that had aisles that people could walk up and down to get their own goods and pay for them at a checkout. Just a little bit of history for you guys, since I saw Piggly Wiggly. But one of the weirdest things that ever happened to me when I was working at Department of Corrections, I was the visitation officer. And so I was in the visitation area and I'm checking, inmates in, I'm checking in their visitors. And I hear Daniel. Now, a lot of the inmates, if they did know my first name, they never called me by it. They either called me Officer Hamilton, they called me Crash, or they called me Hamilton. They never called me by my first name. And I pretended like I didn't hear it. Well, then I hear Daniel. And I'm like, who in the F? And I look up and here's this kid that I know that went to school with my little brother and had come over to my house multiple times, had hung out with my brother. And he got locked up for second-degree reckless homicide. And he probably would not have done any time, but they moved the body.
Mm.
And he was wrestling. One guy that was out at a party with him, like out at the river bottoms, they're all drinking, getting stupid, and he pulled out a shotgun, and this kid that I knew tried to wrestle it away from him, and it went off.
Mm.
And then they staged it to make it look like something that it wasn't, and that's what happened.
Guilty by association, man.
Yep, 100%.
Happens. Hey, I want to call this comment out, Johnny. Listen, here's the thing: is I know that I didn't say motorcycle clubs are called gangs by the misinformed. Listen, this was a gang. This were what we call 1%ers. Not every club is a gang. I understand that. Like 100% get that. But this was a 1% club. So they were definitely a gang, 100%. But yeah, that is unfortunate, man. I hate to hear young people that get wrapped up in that kind of stuff and just wrong place, wrong people, wrong time. You see it over and over and over. I mean, I saw a lot of good young kids that just hung out with the wrong people. And, you know, it's very unfortunate, man. Very, very unfortunate.
You know, I'm definitely, you know, that's you won't hear me mention anybody's name, any name, and I'll call them organizations because it's not like it was back in the day. These people, these groups are very well organized. You know, they're not dumb. You know, they're not dumb. So, you know, these organizations, you know, they know what they're doing. They know what they stand for. They know how to hide their activities. And again, I'm not going to show them any disrespect because you never know who's watching these, you know. And again, I don't have a problem with them. I never had a problem with them when I worked in the institution that I worked in. But yeah, I mean, it takes all kinds of people in this world to make this world go round and round and round. Looks like Josh is having some more technical difficulties. So I'm just going to ask you guys. I didn't really see, but are you guys enjoying the show? Is this something that you guys want to see more of? You know, let us know if this is something more you want to see more of this. If you guys have ideas of things you'd like for us to cover, you know, again, we're definitely gonna stay with what got us to the show, so to speak. You know. But you know, there's so many other things that we want to talk about, and that we want to bring to light to people. And like me, I don't know about you guys. I love World War II history. I love Vietnam history. I like Korean War history. I like stories that surround the Bermuda Triangle and things like that. So you know, I plan on trying to bring things to light like that. Now, when it comes to true crime, that's Josh's wheelhouse. That's not my wheelhouse. So,
yeah, we'll figure it out. You know, we're definitely going to talk cryptids. We're definitely going to talk different mysteries. You know, and I don't know that we'll do true crime very often. We just wanted to do something different to start this thing off, and thought this was a good place. And since I was kind of familiar with it, but yeah, Alaskan Triangle. Like, there's a lot of different stuff we can talk about. Mel's Hole. I want to dive into that. That's a crazy story.
Have you guys ever heard of Mel's Hole?
Man, that is wild. Wild. 100% one of the weirdest stories I've ever heard. I actually think that's the first episode. Yeah. I think that's the first episode we should do. Not a lie, but that's probably the first episode we should do. I think.
You think?
What do you guys think? Let us know.
Leah Duran. She throws out an OG. She throws out Art Bell's name.
Art Bell. Well, that's how Mel's Hole happened, is because he called into Art Bell's show.
Yeah.
And so that story took 10 years to tell. 10.
Yeah.
So
like a 16-mile deep hole, and they still never found the bottom of it.
Never found it. Oh, another weird thing about this is, like, The neighbor had a dog that died, right? He threw the dog in the hole. The next day, he saw the dog walking around, but it looked like it was dead in its eyes. Like, it's just so weird. It's so weird, man. I don't know. It's weird.
You know, there was a show on TV, and I wish I could remember the name of it. I think it was like 2 seasons, and it was something like that, where there was a hole, and they like it was on some guy's property. He had 3 sons. They were at a bar. There was some guy they got into it with. He was unalived. And in this TV show, they took his body, they threw it in this hole. And the guy came back to life. I'm going to find the name of that show, because I watched it and I was like, okay, this is getting too dumb.
Yeah.
Well, it's like a time travel type thing. I don't know. It was really weird.
That's so weird. Let's see. Mel's Hole is so much fun. Pretty sure it's totally debunked, but the commentary was very impressive. The story took place over a long time. Yeah, it was 10 years. 10 years. So
later, greasebag.
See you, buddy. Thanks for hanging out. Guys, let us know what you think about the show. If you've enjoyed it, let us know kind of what your thoughts are. Let us know what you would like to see. I think we're going to do a live and then do like an actual episode once a month to start off. Just to try to do something different. You know, YouTube is so funny because if you try to put this stuff on either one of our channels, nobody's going to see it. And so we thought the best thing to do was to combine both ours and to create something new. And we both bring some pretty unique perspectives and kind of team up really well. So that's what we're trying to do. So
I'm having a good time.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun.
I would do it again.
Do what?
I would do this again.
Oh, heck yeah. You know, maybe we do a live, twice a month, and then we do an episode, once a month. And maybe we do Mel's Hole first. If you guys think of any kind of mysteries or anything you want us to cover, let us know, and we will definitely try to get put on the books. So thank you, Michelle. Yeah, it's always fun to hang out with everybody. It's been a lot of fun.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
But my voice is about gone, dude.
Yep. Devil's Den. Look at Judy throwing things out for us. We'll have to check out the Devil's Den.
Yeah, the Devil's Den murders. Yeah, that's wild. That just happened not long ago.
Hey, thank you so much. She said, telling my truth was so refreshing or so impactful. I appreciate that. I truly appreciate that.
Yep. That's very important.
I did stray away from one story though.
Yeah.
The one that's hardest for me to talk about. So
yeah, I don't blame you for that, dude.
I'll probably tell that one another time.
My channel. Yeah.
Yeah, it's on mine too.
Yeah, another story for another day. Yeah, that's a
tough
one. That's a tough one. Well, I think I'm about tapped out, guys. I think I about talked about this all I can talk about. What about you, man?
Oh, dude, I'm not tapped out yet, dude. But you are, so that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I am
missing 401 cases. Yep, we'll definitely do that, Dylan, for sure. Huey says that Mel's Hole would be awesome.
Okay.
You guys, but we will say this, we will not talk about paranormal on here. Mm-hmm. We won't talk about, demons. We won't talk about possessions, black magic, witchcraft. We're not going to talk about that. As much as, some people would love for us to talk about it. You guys, we can't give anything like that any any power. We can't give it any what's the word I'm looking for?
Glory.
Yeah, we can't give it. We're not going to give it any glory, anything like
Any
that.
place in your life, glory,
Yeah.
anything.
So
no, I learned the really hard way. I learned the hard way about that, and so yeah, we definitely going to talk about mysteries, cryptids, strange things, weird stuff, like all that stuff. But that stuff that unless it's bringing light to it and talking about what these things could be, yeah. And you're right, Thomas. Don't open any doors. So that is never a good thing. But we don't have a call off sign. We don't have whatever. But I will say, because I'm just going to use it because I think you can use it in multiple places. We'll have to figure out a sign off. But mine's always going to be just you don't want to say it. It's the best thing you can do. Stay prayed up, guys.
and
So very important.
And also, before we get out of here, guys, if you guys have had an encounter, you'd like to come on my show, there I am, the Crypto Podcast 72@gmail.com. If you want to come on to Josh's show, there he is, Mysteries Unknown Podcast @gmail.com. Or if you want to come on this show, potentially as a guest, or if you have an idea for an episode, shoot us an email at mysteriesandcryptids@gmail.com. And don't forget to visit the site mysteriesandcryptids.com. Again, like Josh said, you know what you guys need to do. And I always like to say, you guys remember, a legend always begins with a sighting.
See you guys next time.
I'm in position.
Cold case shadows and never left the town. Mother still praying her child is found.